Hi everyone, we are here in the Slimming World kitchen. Isn't it gorgeous? I'm looking forward to cooking in it and doing some videos. We're going to start with a recipe from the One for All Slimming World cookbook. It's a great one-pot recipe book and there's so many great things in there. We're going to do the mushroom macaroni, but if you have a good flick, the Chinese chicken rice, I've cooked that, that's delicious. Oh, and this ramen, don't forget to look out for that as well. So, the mushroom macaroni, what do you do to start? I'm going to start the pan, my trusty sauté pan. I love the sauté pan, it's so good because it's got good depth to it. You can pretty much do anything from stir fries to cooking eggs to anything like one pot dishes. So if you haven't got one of these and you're going to invest in a bit of equipment, this is the piece. And then I'm heating that up, but you're probably looking on the board and thinking, what is that? It looks like wood bark. Don't be alarmed. These are porcini mushrooms. They're great and delicious because they've got this umami, savoury flavour, which you're really going to love. You have to rehydrate them though, so we're going to just put some boiling water on there. And you leave it for about, 15 minutes. And what happens, as if by magic, a new one here. Look at that. Aren't they appetising? Not, but don't you worry, we're going to turn them into something delicious. The pan's heated up now. I just test the pan with my hand going down to the pan like that. And I just put a bit of low-calorie cooking spray in there. And then this is 400 grams of mushrooms. You can use any mushrooms. These are chestnut mushrooms, but button mushrooms. Or, if you've got the odd sort of portobello mushroom in the bottom of your fridge, just chuck it in, whatever you have. You could even add some bacon medallions into this if you wanted. They're the ones that are just literally the medallions with no fat on them. Cut those up and that will make it a meat fest in there if you wanted. But this is a vegetarian one that we're doing today. Then you take out all these lovely mushrooms, like so, and then you just need to chop those up. Now, in the book it says not to use that liquid. I'm going to use it because it's got loads of flavour in it. So a thing about recipes is always just use them as a guide and then you can adapt them to whatever you've got in the fridge or freezer. So you just roughly chop those up, put those in and get your pan nice and hot because what you're trying to do is drive off the water from the mushrooms, okay? So they've gone in with the other mushrooms. Just wipe my hand. And then garlic. So it's 3 garlic cloves, but if you're a lover of garlic like I am, I tend to chuck in a few more. But I'm just going to show you the technique on how to chop a garlic clove because I don't use a garlic press because I haven't got time to wash it up. So I just take the end off and then I just use the blade and keep your hand away from the sharp edge and you just tap it like that and it's done pretty much the crush for you. But you just take the skin off very easily. And then what we're going to do is just chop it up a bit. And then you could add a little bit of salt on there, but then you just use your blade and you can mush it into there. If you don't fancy this, you can buy it in the freezer section in the supermarket. It's already chopped and ready to go, so you could do that as well. Then I'm just going to scoop that into the pan. And then thyme. If you haven't got fresh thyme, just use dried thyme. Generally you need a little less, so we're using 2 teaspoons of fresh thyme, but if you're using dried thyme, it would probably be about 1 teaspoon of dried thyme. So I've taken some of the thyme off stalks there, but again, a little tip. If your thyme is woody, this isn't that woody, but if it was, I would chuck that in and all the leaves would come off during the cooking time. And then at the end of cooking, you just pull out the stalks because nobody wants to eat them. Or you just go against the grain of the stalk itself and you just go back on it and it pulls the thyme off. Should be really simple. So I'm going to keep stirring that and we're going to cook that. Probably it will take about 5 or 10 minutes and to get nice and brown and all the water's driven on. So there we go, you can see that's lovely and brown. It's taken about 5-10 minutes. Again, it depends on how high you have your hob, but that's what you're looking for. It nice and dry and lovely and golden. Now, this is where this porcini liquid comes into its own. What I would do is add that in. Again, that's just boosting up that umami flavour. And the reason we're doing that is because when you take fat out of a recipe, some of the flavour goes. But if you put something like this back in, it really dials up the flavour. So what you want to do is pour in the liquid, but don't pour it all the way in. If you can see a bit of grit in there, stop at that point and throw that bit away. And then all the mushrooms are going to absorb that. Then what we're going to do is add in 500 grams of dried macaroni. It could be fusilli, rigatoni, penne, whatever you've got, put that in. So we're going to give that a little stir. And then I'm going to add in a litre of boiling water. In the recipe it says a litre of vegetable stock, but I always think that if you do that, some stock cubes, it would be like 4 stock cubes in 1 litre. So I generally work with 1 stock cube per 500 mils of water. And then I just tend to crumble it in like that. Otherwise it just becomes a little salty. Oh, my snatch has dropped in. And then what we're going to do is just give that a good stir. I'm going to bring that to the boil, and then the magic happens. So most of you would probably cook the pasta separately and then add that into the mushroom mixture. Not with this. With all our recipes in the One for All cookbook, you can just lot it all in, put a lid on pretty much, and it cooks within 1 pot. Saves on washing up and time, which we all are short on these days. So we'll bring that up to the boil. I mean, it's like watching a kettle boil, isn't it? But hopefully any second now. And then we're going to put the lid on, and we're going to turn the heat down to sort of low to medium. Just make sure it's still simmering, and it will take about 10 or 12 minutes with macaroni. If you're using the bigger dry pasta, it might take a bit longer and might need a little bit more liquid. But with any cooking, you just got to gauge it. And what I would do is take the lid off and just stir it every so often to make sure it's not sticking on the bottom of the pan. So give that a quick whiz. That's come up to temperature. Take that out, put the lid on, and then I'm going to just turn that down to about 4 or 5 on my hob, and in 10 or 12 minutes and we'll have a perfectly cooked macaroni. So the mushroom macaroni, it's been on there, I don't know, about 10, 12 minutes. What you're looking for is it to nearly have absorbed all the water. It's actually nice if it's got a little bit left in there so it's not dried out. And you can see that it's all swelled up, the lovely macaroni, and quite frankly, delicious. So what we're going to do to finish that off, I'm just going to take that off the heat. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to cool that down, and if you've got time, just leave it for 5 minutes, because what happens is when you add the quark in, and try and get the quark out of the fridge when you start cooking, it could separate. So what you want to do is cool that for 5 minutes and then stir in 200 grams of quark. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of chopped parsley as well. You can use flat leaf or curly. I just prefer a bit of flat leaf myself. Again, if you haven't got parsley, you could finish it off, with a bit of basil, tarragon, chives, anything like that. That's the beauty of all these recipes. They're really flexible, and you can just chuck in pretty much what you want. So we'll add the quark in. And that's fat-free. In fact, this whole dish is free in the food optimizing plan, which is great. So we just give that a stir. And then what I do is, we say season to taste. All that means is give it a taste and just see if it's to your palate. So if you want to add a bit more salt or pepper into that, do. But remember, the stock cubes are quite salty in itself. So we just give that a stir. And then what we're going to do is serve that up on a plate. And we'll just put that on there. And you can have this with a lovely green salad if you wanted to.